Okay, example 6 is a little trickier because what they're going to do is they give you the midpoint and one of the endpoints. And what you have to do is work backwards. So I'll read the problem again. It says the midpoint C of segment IN has coordinates 4, -3. Find the coordinates of point I if N is at 10, 2. So the picture is going to look something like this. I'm going to do a quick sketch here of the picture, but it's going to have like, there's an endpoint, that is N, which is 10, 2. And then you're going to have some midpoint C, which is 4, -3. And when you connect them, you're going to have some to make those the same. You're going to have to find I. Let's call that x1, y1. Okay, so that's what the picture looks like, and that means this would be x2, y2. And this is the midpoint. I'm going to call it x little m for midpoint, and the y part, that's the midpoint. Okay? So we've got these three things, and we know the formula. The formula says that if you want to get the midpoints, you take the average of the x's. If you want the midpoint for the y's, you take the average of the y's. Okay? And so let's do that. Let me erase some of that stuff I wrote in. Okay? Do one more there. Okay? And let's do that. So the x, well, we have xm here. So let's do it. Xm, the midpoint of x is going to equal the average of the x's. Okay? And when I do that, I'm going to get 4 equals, well, I don't know what the x for I is, but I do know the x2 is right there, is 10 divided by 2. Now, if I solve that, one way to solve that, I'm going to change my pen color here. One way to solve that is to multiply everything by 2. So I'm going to get 2 times 4 is 8 equals 2 times, well, everything here was divided by 2. So if I multiply by 2 and I divide by 2, they're going to cancel out. I'm going to get x1 plus 10. Now the problem looks pretty easy. Subtract 10, and since I ran out of space, I'm going to get the x for I is -2. Now we're going to do the similar thing. I'm going to do the work slightly different, so you can choose to multiply by the number at the bottom of the fraction on both sides, or there's a different way called cross multiplying. So I'm going to do the y's that way. So I'll do the y's in green here, just to, it's always about color. So the y's, we know it's the average of the y's. Okay, and so we know this is the midpoint of the y's. That's -3. It has to equal the first y, which is right here, which we don't know, y1, plus here's y2 right there, which is 2, and all that has to be divided by 2 on that side. So in any if any number, so now I've said we're going to cross multiply. So here's what I mean. I can take any number that's a whole number and divide it by 1. So now I have two fractions equal to each other, and this is great for cross multiplying, because cross multiplying says if you take the bottom of one fraction times the top of another, you will get 1 times y1 plus 2. And if you take the other top of the first fraction and the bottom of the second fraction, you're going to get Negative 3 times 2 is negative 6, and now you don't have any fractions. So this is, you could have done the x's this way, but I wanted to show you two ways to do it. So we know that 1 times anything is just y1 plus 2 equals negative 6. Then I'm going to subtract 2 from both sides, and I get the y1 is negative 8. So if you want to get the coordinates for I, I'm going to erase these parts here. The coordinates here are going to be, they're going to be x is negative 2, and they're going to be y is negative 8. And that's our answer right here, up there. There's our answer. I just erased the parts that we didn't need. So I hope that makes sense.